Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminithi Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarini Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayam Uddhirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So until last week, we saw the first chapter, right? So we completed Bhishma, we completed the prayers of by Arjuna and Bhishma, Pitama, right, and Kunti Maharani, and it was Vyasadev's, and the last one was the prayers of from the ladies of Hastinapur, right? And then today it will be the prayers of Sukadev Goswami. Okay, so that's to give a background of this particular canto, right? So this is nothing but the process of creation, right? And then we all know, right? This Sukadev Goswami is the son of Vyasadev, yeah. And then Vyasadev had imparted this knowledge to Sukadev Goswami, right? And then now Parikshit Maharaj is actually sitting at the near the banks of river Yamuna, and then he has got 7 days, right? So wherein he knows that he has got only 7 days, and then post that he leave his body, right? He has got an ultimatum, and then see he is utilizing his 7 days in discussing Bhagavatam, yeah. So he's spending his 7 days, right? So Parikshit Maharaj is spending his 7 days, right? So this is how he's spending, right? And he's hearing the nectar of the Lord's pastime, right? Because this is very close to him, right? Because when he was in the womb of his mother, right, Uttara, and then when Brahmastra came, so he could see at that time that the Lord has come and saved him. But from there, right, his search was always there. And this is how things are unfolding now, right? And then so Suta Goswami is a very elevated soul, right? So who doesn't have any material attachment, right? So so he didn't have any house to live or anything, right? So he was moving from one place to the other, right? And so hope you might have seen that picture also, right? So how Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj are interacting, right? So Sukadev Goswami is sitting on the Vyasasana, and then Parikshit Maharaj is at the he's sitting below it. Yeah. So now the question is, after these prayers, right? So the second chapter comes with the process of creation. So Parikshit Maharaj now asks this question to Sukadev Goswami. So he is interested to know how the creation of the universe happens, right? So when this question is being asked, right? See, now if you look in, right, the way the things are being unfolded, right? So Parikshit Maharaj is not directly asking, tell me the pastimes, or say he's not asking about any say 10th canto details or nothing, right? So he is going step by step, right? So even though he has less time, right? So he still feels that uh, he should go in sequence, right? So because one has to know, right? Say how opulent the Lord is, right? And then yeah, and then the Lord is inconceivable, right? So all these things are first discussed, and then it goes into the other uh, topics, yeah, other leelas, other pastimes of the Lord. So in this, right? So now you'll see that Maharaj Parikshit, right? He wants to know the details of the creation, and then he's asking those questions. Yeah. So Suta Goswami said that Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Sukadev Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully on Lord Krishna, right? Because even Bhishma Dev showed us, right? So how do we live our body, right? And then Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury, house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom, because he was the king of the whole universe, right? So he could live it. So such was the training at that time, yeah. So for us, right? So if somebody asks to live any us to live the apartment and go to a thatched house, right? So it will become a revolution, right? So, but for them, you see, even the kings were of such high caliber. Yeah? Oh, great sages, the great soul Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fugitive activities, namely act of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna, and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. Okay. So, and the other thing is, Maharaj Parikshit is playing our role. Okay. So, if you look in right in the Bhagavad Gita, right? If Arjuna is not bewildered, right, and then if he's not asking those questions, right, so then we'll not get the life book, right? So for Kali Yuga, our life book is what? Bhagavad Gita, right? So similarly, Bhagavatam is next level, right? So once we understand Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavatam is the next nectar, right? So there also, if Maharaj Parikshit is not asking these questions, right, we'll not get all these things, right? We'll not get to know how the creation happened, right? And then Maharaj Parikshit said, "O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Yeah? Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance. For you are narrating the topics of the Lord." Yeah? So we know that Sukadev Goswami, when he was in the womb of his mother, right, for so many years he didn't come out, right? Uh, So because he was fearful of what will happen if he comes out, right? So because he's a liberated soul, right? So he was not interested to come into this material world and then say get into this material entanglement. So he was in the womb for so many years, right? And then I say with Vasudev has to pray, um, and then he comes out, and then he doesn't stay in the house also for a long time, right? He runs away into the forest. Yeah. So he's always a liberated soul. Yeah. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates this phenomenal universe as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Yeah? So this nobody knows it, right? So the modern day science, right? So the modern day cosmology is limited. Yeah. So they can only talk, or they can give us the information about this universe, right? But what is beyond this universe, right? And then what is the driving force which is holding all these universes, right? And about Vaikunthas and all those things, right? So none of our say scientific cosmology can give those things, but our Vedic cosmology, right? It gives all those information, right? And then the temple, which is going to come, right? TOVP. So that will give us more visualization to understand how the Vedic cosmology is. Yeah. So the Vedic cosmology is different from the scientific cosmology. Yeah. So kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. So this we even had a small intro in our Bhagavad Gita also, right? So wherein we know that um, Lord Brahma, right? Brahma lives for 100 years, right? And every day, at the end of his day, right, there is a small inundation which happens, and then after 100 years, right, so there is a bigger one, right? And then one day of Brahma is so many years, right? So the Brahma lives for some trillion years. Yeah. So in that way, so he's asking all those details. Yeah. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful. Yeah. And they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. So nobody understands this. Yeah. So how the outer space is there, and then how these planets are revolving in an orbit, right? So and then how the sun has the timings, right? How it comes every day, it comes at the same time, and then it sets in the same time. So all these things people are still trying to understand. Yeah? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, whether he alone acts with modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms or expands consecutively to direct modes of nature. So the Lord is the origin. Yeah. So now he is asking, kindly clear up all doubtful enquiries because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. So he's saying that because you are the devotee of the Lord, right? So you are, and then he has that capability, right? Because he has got all the knowledge, yeah, and then he is self-realized soul. Yeah. So he's asking, so all these things. So now what happens is, now what will happen is Suta Goswami, right? So before speaking the creation, right, he'll glorify the Lord. Okay. And that's nothing but our um, prayers of Suta Goswami. So before, so it's like taking the permission of the Lord, right? So because he is first glorifying the Lord and then seeking his blessing so that he can actually talk about the Lord. Yeah. So that's what is happening here. So Suta Goswami said, when Suta Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. Okay. So this is the background wherein why this prayers have started in, yeah? And then so we'll go here and then see. So from here on, right, the Sukadev Goswami's prayers start, yeah. So we'll read this one. Sri Sukha Vacha Nama parasmai purushaya bhuyase sad udbhavasthana nirodha leelaya grihita shakti tirthaya dehinam antar antarbhavaya anupalakshaya vartamani. So Sri Sukha Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Nama, offering obeisances, Parasmai, the Supreme, Purushasya, personality of Godhead, Bhuyashe, onto the complete whole, Sad Udbhava, the creation of the material world, Sthana, its maintenance, and its winding up. So he's saying that he is the source who does all three, right? Who creates, maintains, and annihilates. Yeah. Leelaya, by the pastimes of Grihita, having accepted Shakti, power, Tirthaya. So three modes, Dehinam, of all who possesses material bodies. Antabhavaya, onto he who resides within. Anupalakshaya, inconceivable. Vartamane, one who has such ways. So Sukadev Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is complete. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Okay, so he is actually paying obeisances to the Lord, right? And then he's addressing him that he is the one who has created this material world, right? And then he is residing in the heart of everyone as a Paramatma. And then he is unconceivable. He is inconceivable, right? So he's staying in his dham, and then parallelly he is within us also. Yeah? So that's all inconceivable, right? So normal persons cannot think of that also. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Praveen Prabhu, would you like to read this
Hare
purport?
Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The screen is.
Okay, 1 minute. Oh, sorry. Mataji, you'll have to pass me the host, Melinda Mataji. Or you make me co-host, either of the thing. So I wanted someone to make co-host, and then by mistake I have done.
Okay, how do I do that? I'm just trying. Where do I go?
Here, Mataji, just right click on my name. There will be three dots. If you see, right, that button.
It says more and okay, make
Uh,
host. Okay,
make me co-host also is okay. Anything you
I'll
can
make you.
make. Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll sorry. Okay, I'll have to make someone go first. That's okay. Yes, Prabhu. 1 minute. So that's the reason access went off. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This material world is a manifestation of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Sankara, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into every body materially created. As Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he enters into every universe. As Shirodeshaya Vishnu, he enters the body of every living being. Lord Sri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattva, is addressed here as Para Puman or Purushottama, as described in the Bhagavad Gita 15:18. He is the complete whole. The Purushottaras are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him, because the empiric philosophers and the mystic yogis cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. He is called Anupalaksha Vartamane, the Lord of the inconceivable way or Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So here Sukadev Goswami is saying that because we know, right? Vishnu does the maintenance, right? So the creation is done by Lord Brahma, right? And Lord Brahma is also created by the Lord himself, yeah. And then maintenance is done by Vishnu, and then when annihilation has to come in, right? So it is done by Lord Shiva, right? So he does that Pralaya Tandav, and then everything goes off, right? And then even the Lord actually resides in us, right? Paramatma, right? So the Paramatma is nothing but Shirodaksha Vishnu, okay? And Garbhodaksha Vishnu is enters into one of the every universes. Yeah? I think you all know this one, right? And then Lord Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattva, he is addressed here as Parapuman, yeah, or Purushottama. Because we all know, right? 15th chapter is nothing but Purushottama Yoga, right? So this is the chapter, right? So 15.8 is no 15th chapter is all Purushottama Yoga, right? Because I am transcendental beyond both fallible and infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in this world and in the Vedas as a supreme person. So the Lord is declaring, yeah. So here we know, right? So hope you all have seen Goloka chart, right? In your have you?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji, I have.
Okay, so then you all understand, right? So where these things are coming from? Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Praveen Prabhu, have you seen? No? Okay, I'll just share. So this is Garbhodaksha Vishnu, yeah? And then here it will be Mahavishnu. Here it is. Karanodaksha Vishnu, okay? So this is just, I'm just giving you a glimpse, okay? So this is all the universes, if you see, right? So he is the origin, okay? And then all these universes are nothing, are coming out of his, from his body pores, okay? And then after that, what happens is, sorry, I'll have to zoom. He enters into the causal ocean, right? As Garbhodaksha Vishnu, right? So he sits here, and then from his navel, Lord Brahma is born. Yeah? And then as Shirodaksha Vishnu, he enters into the living entities, yeah, as Paramatma. Okay. And then these are all the 14 planetary systems of our universe. Yeah. We are here. Loka. So above us, we have these all lokas, yeah. Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Lord Brahma. Yeah? And then the
Taratal,
yes,
Taratal.
these are nothing but the lower. Yeah, say the last one is Patala. Yeah, so this is just how a glimpse of the creation is all about. Yeah, so, yeah. We'll go to the next shloka. So now he'll actually start his prayers, right? So he'll be going one after the other. Yeah, so I think looking at the time, right, we'll just go through the translation and purport. I again offer my respectful obeisances onto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distress and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. Yeah. So here again he'll touch base about the prakritis, right? So the apara, right? So the spiritual, material, right? So and then Okay, maybe we'll read this, yeah. So instead of moving ahead, right? Milinda Machaji, you can start. We'll go para by para, okay? So maybe you can actually read this and then we'll discuss this and then move on, yeah, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna is the complete form of all existence, both material and spiritual. Akhila means complete, or that which is not khila, inferior. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of nature: Prakriti, namely the material nature, and the spiritual nature, or the external and internal potencies of the Lord. The material nature is called apara, or inferior, and the spiritual nature is called superior or transcendental. Therefore, the form of the Lord is not of the inferior material nature. He is complete transcendence, and he is murti, or having transcendental form. The less intelligent men who are unaware of his transcendental form describe him as impersonal Brahman. But Brahman is simply the rays of his transcendental body, Yashya Prabha. The devotees who are aware of his transcendental form render him service. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotees from all distresses. The pious men who follow the rulings of the Vedas are also dear to him, and therefore the pious men of this world are also protected by him. The impious and the non devotees are against the principles of the Vedas, and so such persons are always hampered from making advances in their nefarious activities. Some of them, who are specially favored by the Lord, are killed by him personally, as in cases of Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa. And thus, such demons get salvation and are thereby checked from further progress in their demonic activities. Just like a kind father, either in his favor upon the devotees or his punishment of the demons, he is ever kind to everyone because he is a complete existence for all individual existence. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So here, right, so the inferior and if you look in, right, so both the Prakritis, right, so the external and internal potencies of the Lord, right? So internal potencies of the Lord is nothing but spiritual. External is material world, yeah. So and we are actually, you see, right? The material nature is called apara, so which is inferior, okay, and spiritual nature is called para, so which is superior or transcendental, okay. So there are two different nature, material, the natures, right? So one is and the other thing is we are marginal, okay. We are in the we have got the marginal potential, right? So what happens is we have got the choice, okay. It's like we are on the seashore, okay. So we are at the sand, right? So the beach has got the sand, it has got some portion of sand, right, which is similar to the land only, right, but it is covered with sand, right? And then the other thing is the other way it's ocean, right? So what happens is we are in between, and if we cross this sand, then we'll go to this normal roads and all, right? So we are in between that sand, right? At times we go and touch the waves, right? So that is spiritual, and at times we are in the land. So just an metaphor, but the actual thing is we are in between, and then choice is given to us, okay. So that independence which the Lord has given, right? It is up to us. What do we want to do, right? So whether you want to go to a temple or you want to go to a bar, right? Choice is yours. So the same thing, okay. And then, and we know also, right? If we are dependent on the Lord, then the Lord reciprocates, and then He gives us the uh, way also, right? So I think Bhagavad Gita 10.10, right? So he gives us the direction also, right? Tesham satatam tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantate, right? So the way, if we are surrendering to him, right? So even though we may not have the see, we don't know how to reach that destination also, right? But if at all we are dependent on him, right? So he takes care of. Okay. The Lord gives us dadami buddhi yogam. Okay. So he'll give us that knowledge, though if we are lacking something, right? So because everyone is different, right? So you may be very elevated, liberated souls, right? So who are always touched with the Lord, but few who are trying to reach there and then who are fully dependent, right? The Lord takes care of them. Yeah. And then the other thing is he always delivers the pious man, right? So and then he even so his costless mercy is such that even for the non-devotees also, right? He actually comes in and then he gives the liberation. Yeah. So those are special cases. Yeah. So it's not for everyone. Yes. It doesn't mean that we become atheists, right? Atheists doesn't work in. Few of them, few of them like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, they were actually mercy. They got the mercy, right? So it's not that everyone will get, right. Even Putana and all, right? So those are special cases. Yeah. So and then we should not be in that category. Yeah. So we should not be in these categories, right? So rather we should be in the other devotional categories like Prahlad Maharaj, right? Or Dhruva Maharaj, right? So Bali Maharaj, there are so many exemplary things, right? So we'll have to be in that category, in the devotees category, not in non-devotees categories. Yeah. And then here the Paramhamsa stage is also being discussed. Okay. So unless you are a Paramhamsa, so this Paramhamsa stage is even discussed in Kunti Maharani's prayers, if you remember, right? She says that, so when she says that, how can I, an woman, understand you? So who's whom to whom? Actually, Paramhamsas, it's very difficult for the Paramhamsas also to understand, right? So this is what is being discussed here. Yeah. And then since the Lord is very kind to everyone, the impersonalist who accept bhakti as the means of merging in the existence of the Lord in his personal Brahmajyoti are also awarded the desired destination. Okay. So Brahmajyoti is nothing but the effulgence of the Lord. Yeah. So, so which comes, which is actually stopping. Okay. So for the impersonalist, right? So that's the last stage. Okay. But for bhaktas, right? So they'll actually cross that Brahma Jyoti, and then so they will actually go to the Lord's abode. So in the coming verses, we'll see that in the Isha Upanishad also, right? So there is one verse called Hiranmai, so wherein the devotees actually pray to the Lord, saying that, say, can you actually help us to remove that effulgence which is glaring, right? So that is actually not allowing us to see you. Okay. So that will come in the coming verses. Yeah. So, and still he's further praying. Yeah. So he's saying that, so um, you are so merciful, right? And then he is saying that let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, who is the associate of the members of Yadu dynasty and who is always a member of the for the non-devotees, who is always a problem. Sorry, he is the supreme enjoyer of both material and spiritual world. Yet he enjoys his own award in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. And so we know, right? Even in Bhagavad Gita, so we know that he is the supreme enjoyer, right? Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam, right? So of all the things, right? So he is the controller and he is the enjoyer. Okay. So and then he says that um, he pays the obeisances, saying that you associate with the member. So when he came into this world, right? So he was from the Yadu dynasty, right? And then even if you look in, right? So when he came, right, the Yadu dynasty flourished, and then when he had to go back, right, he actually wound up everything, and then he took them all back because they were all his close associates, right? So it was all his paraphernalia which came in, right? It's similar to like the prime minister visiting a place, right? If he comes in, then he'll come with his entourage, right? So there will be so much of security and all this people coming in, right? And then so once the prime minister lives, they'll also live with him, right? It is also similar to that only. Yeah. So here even it's been mentioned that for the pure devotees, he is a constant companion. Yeah. So as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of Yadu dynasty, right? And then his friends' names are also being discussed here, right? Prabhupada has written this. And then becoming the associate neighbor of the inhabitants of Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Yashoda, the friend of Sudama, Sridhama, and Madhumangala. Okay. And then as the lover of the damsels of Vrajabhumi. Yeah? So that is the part of the personal features. Sorry. And then we'll see. So in this, right? So here only. So that's what I was saying, right? And the other thing is, we know this thing, right? So the Lord's Dham, right, doesn't need any electricity or any special illumination, right? So like for us, we need electricity and sun, right? But in the Lord's Dham, we don't need all those things. Yeah. So this is nothing but his Swadhama, right? So it doesn't need any moonlight or electricity for illumination. Right? Not that bhashyate suryo, na shashanko na pavaka, yadgatva na nivartante, tadhamam paramam mama. So this is from 15.6, right? VG. So wherein it says that, so it doesn't need Natat Bhashyate Suryo, right? So it doesn't need a sun, it doesn't need moon, nor electricity. Yeah. Yadgatva na nivartante. So once you go there, right, there is no coming back. And tadhamam paramam mama, right? So they're saying whosoever goes there, right, he doesn't come, and then his abode is self-eliminating. So it doesn't need any external force. Yeah. And then this is the one which I was saying, right? Hiranmaya Patrina. So this is from Isho Upanishad. Okay. So wherein this particular verse says that, "O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, yeah? So both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service or bhakti yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please therefore remove the veil, yeah, of your Brahmajyoti rays so that I can see you see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge. So this is what the devotees pray to the Lord. Okay. So else, most of the things what happens is the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, right? So they are stuck at the Brahmajyoti effulgence, but the devotees move one step ahead. Yeah? So that's what Bhakti Yoga teaches us. Yeah? So this is next verse. Yat kirtanam yat smaranam yad ikshanam yad vandanam yat charvanam yad arahanam lokasya sadyo vidhunoti kalmasham tasmai subhadra sarvesha namo namaha. So this is one of the important slokas, yeah. So wherein it says Yat, whose kirtanam, glorification, Yat, whose smaranam, remembrance, Yat, whose ikshanam, audience, Yat, whose vandanam, prayers, Yat, whose shravanam, hearing about, Yat, whose arahanam, worshipping, lokasya of all people, sadaya, forthwith with vidonoti, specifically cleanses kalmasham, effects of sin, tashmai, onto him, subhadra, all auspicious, sarvesha, one who has heard. So it is Sravesha, sorry. Namaha, my due obeisances, Namaha, again and again. So let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of performance. So this we'll have to read. Lakshmi Prabhu, Hare Krishna, can you read this purport, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. The sublime form of religious performances to free oneself from all reactions of sins is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Kirtanam, or glorifying the Lord, can be performed in very many ways, such as remembering, visiting temples to see the deity, offering prayers in front of the Lord, and hearing recitations of glorification of the Lord mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Kirtanam can be performed both by singing the glories of the Lord in accompaniment with melodious music and by a recitation of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and or Bhagavad Gita. The devotees need not be disappointed in the physical absence of the Lord, though they may think of not being associated with him. The devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc., either all or some of them, or even one of them, can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by discharging the transcendental loving service of the Lord in the above manner. Even the very sound of the holy names of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. We must know definitely that the Lord is present wherever such pure transcendental service is performed, and thus the performer of offenseless kirtanam has positive association with the Lord. Similarly, remembrance and prayers also can give us the desired result if they are properly done under expert guidance. One should not concoct form of devotional service. One may worship the form of the Lord in a temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or a church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of the sins provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly in expectation, or getting free from the reaction by worshipping in the temple or by offering prayers in the church. This mentality of committing sins willfully on the strength of devotional service is called uh, namno
Go through.
namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi, and it is the greatest offense in the discharge of devotional service. Hearing, therefore, is essential in order to keep oneself strictly on guard against such pitfall of sins, and in order to give special stress to the hearing process, the Goswami invokes all auspicious fortune in this matter. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So this is very important words, right? Again, if you look in right here, the stress is given for the Navaveda Bhakti, right? So for Kirtanam, Smaranam, right? So we have Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam. So there are different ways, right, of Navaveda Bhakti, right? So we'll have to choose any one of them. So either we will do one or take up everything, all the nine, right? So it's not mandatory that we should have all the Navaveda bhaktis, right? So if we are good at one, right? If we do Smaranam properly, right? So then it's done. So with that also, so you can actually go back to the Godhead, yeah. So for us, right, only three things would be more important, right? So chanting, right? Chanting and hearing, and then doing kirtans, right? So while doing kirtans, chanting anyhow, we do it, and then we hear the kirtans, bhajans, and then the Bhagavatam classes, right? And different sources are there, right? So anything which we hear from the Lord, right? And then we do service and association, I think. So with this, for us, it's enough, right? Even the schedule which we follow in, right? Say daily in the ISKCON, right? So you do Mangal Harti, so you offer the prayers, right? And then you sit and chant, and then you have prasadam, you dance. So all these things are already there. But the other thing is, few times, right? So we should not get disappointed that okay, so we are not getting any personal touch with the Lord, right? So wherever we actually hear the glories of the Lord, okay, or there are talks about the Lord, or there is any good bhajan, right? Or there are good songs which are sung for the glorification of the Lord. Okay. So in those places the Lord resides. Okay. So that's what is being told in this shloka, right? So the Lord is there. Only thing is we don't have the vision to see. Right? And the other thing is one should not actually even in our 10 commandments which we have got, right? So in the morning, say which we actually sing, right? So 10 offenses. So one of them is so committing, doing sinful things on the name of the holy name, right? So you should not do any sinful activities, right? So like now if you are residing in the morning, you go to the temple, you do everything, right? And then in the evening you go and then you break the four regulative principles, right? That doesn't help, right? So those things we should not do it, right? And then say maybe you'll do some sinful activity tonight, right? And then say morning you'll come and confess. So that doesn't help, right? So usually that's what people do in the churches, right? So the whole week they'll do sense gratification and they'll do all sinful activities, and on Sunday they'll come and pray to the Lord, saying that to take all our sins, yeah. And then from Monday again, the same thing comes in. So we should not do those things, yeah. So we should have our own restrictions, right? Yeah, and then this is for all the intellects, right? So what the Lord, how he is merciful, right? So here it's been told. So we'll just go through the highlights here. Yeah. So my dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore, so this is for the pure devotees, right? So now Sukadev Goswami says that how the Lord is merciful to the devotees and the non-devotees, and then he'll actually talk about the lower section of the people also. Okay. So this is mostly for that. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering onto his lotus feet are revealed for of all attachment to present and future existence without difficulty, progress towards spiritual existence. Even if you look in it in Bhagavad Gita, so Arjuna was a pure devotee, right? He actually surrendered and then his bewilderment was resolved, right? So even here, right, again the devotional service is being stressed, which is always based on the love of God. Yeah. So even there are other yoga systems, but the bhakti yoga is the only way by which we can actually connect to the Lord. So bhakti yoga is the highest quality of perfection to be achieved by an intelligent person. Yeah. So now, so this is also the same thing. Okay, so we'll move on. So that's the continuation. Okay, and then here, right, he gives the different tribes. Yeah, so the lower section of the right. Uh, so wherein Kira, so these are nothing but Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulaksha, right? So these are all the different provinces in Andhra. So these are different provinces, say, which were under the and which are in this universe only, but in different places, right? So even so, lower grade people, right? So even them also, right? If they are associated with the pure devotee or they directly come in touch with the Lord, right? So even they can be delivered. That's what mean it's mentioned. Okay, these are nothing but different sections. Okay, Hunas are nothing but from East Germany. Okay, and then these are hill tribes known as Hunas. Okay, and Pulinda are mentioned in the as the inhabitants of what, Greek? Yeah, so Greek, and then they were actually conquered by Bhimasena and Sahadev. See, at that time, so everything was ruled centrally. Okay, so when Yudhishthir Maharaj also was ruling, he was the king for the entire universe. Yeah. Similarly, there will be all these things are there, so you can read when you are having leisure time, right? So here the basic thing is, so the Lord is not only specific to a particular region or a particular mass of people, right? So he is equal to all. So whosoever comes in contact with him or his pure devotees, he is ready to deliver them. Yeah. So that's the whole gist of it. Here we can read. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all powerful, can under any and every circumstances accept anyone from any part of the world. Okay, so it's not that only in India or in Vrindavan, yeah, anywhere, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as the spiritual master. Okay, so he's ready to accept. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than Varnashramites, and he himself declared to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life. So this question was asked to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that to which caste or social order of life you belong. Okay, so for which the Lord answered that he is Dasanu Dasanu Das. Yeah. So he said that he is the eternal servant of the Lord who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan. Okay. So Lord Chaitanya said that I am Dasanu Dasanu Das. Okay. So that was the answer which he gave when people asked him, so which religion and all. Yeah. So even so he's now next glorification goes in, so wherein Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also meditate upon the Lord, right? So because he is the one who actually gives the direction to everyone, right? And then here you see Krishna Bhakta. So this is about Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is being touched upon. Yeah. So here, right? Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanti. So only Krishna Bhakti or the pure devotional service, right? You'll have Shanti. Okay. Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then other things, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, right? They'll be always Ashanti. They'll never have Shanti. Whatever you do, right? You do Dhyana Yoga, you do all Siddhis, you attain, right? Nothing is going to happen. You'll be always restless unless you take the shelter of the Lord. Yeah. Here it is said, right? Those who are after furtive results for the pious activities, those who desire salvation and the identity with the Supreme, and those who desire material perfection of mystic powers are all restless because they want something for themselves. So all these are nothing but they have an agenda for their glorification or sense gratification. But here there is nothing. Here the glorification is for the Lord and to serve the Lord. Okay. So if they buy something, it is for the Lord. If they cook something, it is for the Lord. It's not for self enjoyment. Okay. But here it's not their thing. So they have got an hidden agenda. Yeah. And then this is one of the important shloka. Yeah? So Shreyapati Yagnapati Prajapatir Dhyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapati Patir Gatish Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So he is the Pati of everything. Yeah. So Shreya, opulence, everything. He is the Yagnapati, he is the Prajapati, all Patis, Lokapati. So Sukadev Goswami is giving us, he is telling us who is the Pati. So Shreyapati, so goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, right? If you look in people worship Lakshmi, right? In few places, if you see, right, they'll only worship Lakshmi because they always want the gold coins which fall from the hands of goddess Lakshmi, eh? But they don't know that they'll have to worship Lakshmi Narayana, right? So it's not, we should, and then she can always go away, right? So Lakshmi, so if we have Lakshmi Narayana, right, she'll be staying with us. That's one thing, yeah. So he's Lakshmi Pati, right? So we in this material world we know only Karodpati, Arabpati, right? And then we know how their marriages and then there's those things go on, right? But you see, the Lord is Lakshmipati. Yeah? And he is Yagnapati. Whatever you do, whatever sacrifice you do, it goes to him. He is the Prajapati. He is the controller of all the leaders, of all the controllers. Yeah? And then he is the Lokapati, proprietor of all planets. Yeah? So it's all been mentioned here. Yeah? Shreya, all opulence Pati, the owner, Yagna, of sacrifice, Pati, the director, Prajapati, the leader of all living entities, Dhyam, of intelligence, Pati, the master, Lokapati, the proprietor of all planets, Dhara, earth, Pati, the supreme, Pati, head, Gati, destination, Cha, also Andaka, one of the kings of Yadu dynasty, Vrishni, the king of the Yadu dynasty, Satwatam, the Yadus, Prashaditam, be merciful me. upon me, Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna, Satam of all devotees, Pati. So he's asking to be merciful. Yeah. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, protector, the protector and glory of all the kings like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, the supreme incarnation on the earth, be merciful upon him. So he is actually giving us, Sukadev Goswami himself is giving us, if anyone still has any doubt about Lord Krishna's supremacy, right? So with this verse, everything should be cleared off. Yeah. So in this, we'll read one. Yeah, the conditioned souls strive to become lords of the material world. Yeah. Everyone is trying to lord it over the material nature by applying his highest degree of intelligence. This misuse of intelligence by the conditioned soul is called madness. Yeah. One's full intelligence should be applied to get free from material clutches. But the conditioned soul, due to madness, only engages his full energy and intelligence in sense gratification. And to achieve this end of life, he willfully commits all sorts of misdeeds. Yeah. So this is the nature of our conditioned souls. The result is that instead of attaining an unconditional life of full of freedom, the mad conditioned soul is entangled again and again in different types of bondage and material bodies. Everything we see in the material manifestation is but the creation of the Lord. Okay. Therefore, he is the real proprietor of everything in the universe. The conditioned soul can enjoy a fragment of this material creation under the control of the Lord, but not self-sufficiently. That is the instruction in the Ishopanishad. One should be satisfied with things awarded by the Lord of the universe. It is out of madness only that one tries to encroach upon another share of material possession. So this we should not do it. But so due to this Maya, right? So we do all this. Yeah. Okay. Mataji, if you can read this, with this we'll close.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. All these qualifications as the different types of pati mentioned in the verse are meant for Lord Sri Krishna and Sukadeva. Goswami has therefore especially mentioned the pati and gati of the Yadu dynasty. The members of the Yadu dynasty knew that Lord Sri Krishna is everything, and all of them intended to return to Lord Krishna after he had finished his transcendental pastimes on the earth. The Yadu dynasty was annihilated by the will of the Lord because its members had to return home with the Lord. The annihilation of the Yadu dynasty was a material show created by the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, the Lord and the members of the Yadu dynasty are all eternal associates. The Lord is therefore the guide of all devotees, and as such, Sukadeva Goswami offered him due respects with love laden feelings. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So this is the gist of this shloka, right? And then you see the Lord was belonging to the Yadu dynasty, and then he annihilated because this was just a material show. So this was which was created by the Lord. Yeah. So because he had to wind up, else Kali Yuga will not come in, right? Until the Lord is there, Kali Yuga will not come in. So that's the thing. Yeah. So with this, we'll wind up for today's class. Yeah. So all these are wonderful shlokas and prayers. Yeah. So to fit in 1 hour is very difficult, but yeah, else we cannot complete this course. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, anything you'd like to ask in today's class?
Prabhuji, can I ask a question not related to this class but related to the subject?
You can ask, Prabhu. So if I know, I'll
I've
answer
been
it. Yeah.
I've been wondering
Prabhu.
which is serious, offense or sin?
Sin.
Sin is considered more serious
Yes.
than offense.
Yes.
That's what my thinking was also, but I thought I'll seek your clarification.
And then even so, these are there is very thin line in between this, Prabhu. So if you're doing things unknowingly, right? So we'll simplify. Okay. So anything which you do it unknowingly or you don't have knowledge on it, right? So that's okay, right? But after knowing everything, right? Say after knowing the shastras and then after going through so many things, right? If we go and then do the same heinous act, right? So then that's wrong. That's sinful, right? Say take for the example of Ashwathama, right? So he being the son of Brahmana, he was well educated, he knew everything, right? But the act of killing the sons of Pandavas, which is which he knew, right? Which is not, which is wrong, right? Which one should not do in, right? As per the shastras or the rules, right? So anyone who is sleeping, right? We should not chop them, right? So even as a kshatriya or as a brahmana or wherever, right? So the law, it's even it's an heinous thing to do, right? So similar things we should never do, Prabhu. So unknowingly if you do somehow something, right? So that's okay because you didn't know, those things are okay. But knowing everything, right, and then doing it is bad. So in that
Yes, yes.
way,
Sin comes after offense now, Prabhu. So if I
hmm,
sin
sin,
comes after offense now. So if I do some offense, then I'll get some sin. So like that.
yeah. So that's okay. You are going into that bija and kutam and all. Okay, yeah. So that's there. Prabhu, you want more explanation? I'll actually share you. But the simple thing is, don't commit for us, right? So let's whatever we know, right? Whatever knowledge we have, right? So we should never do say wrong things, Prabhu. And the other thing is, one of the important thing is on the, mostly on the holy name, right? So we should never do things say on the name of holy name, right? So if we are say on the basis of holy names, we should not do any wrong activities. Yeah, so that's one thing. And then we should never blaspheme. So basically, that's a very wrong thing to do, right? So to blaspheme the devotees or anyone, right? So and then basically we should not have dvanda proof. So it should be all simple life. Yeah. Uh, so that's there. But yeah, as Prabhu said, right, sin and offense has got very thin line. But yes, so I'll get more on this, Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, next
Thank you,
class.
Prabhu.
Okay.
And one last question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Soul and super soul.
Prabhu.
Super soul is Paramatma,
Yes, Prabhu.
and soul is also part of super soul.
Correct.
So
It's a fragment.
it's a fragment, and
Hmm.
soul never dies.
No,
It is a
never
soul which
does.
takes rebirth, keeps on
Yes.
taking reincarnation. Then why do we say when a person passes away,
Hmm.
may the soul rest in peace, Atma ko shanti mile?
But we say the other thing also, right? We say the
Yeah, but
e-
but why do we say this when soul is? I mean, it is
that's
existing throughout in
yes,
any
Prabhu.
form. Next birth, it can take any form.
Yeah. So that's
why do we
all.
feel like
That's all the literary words which have been used by people. But yes, there is nothing like that, Prabhu. So soul is always active. So soul is
this? Soul
spiritual,
is
and
always active.
yes, it
It
doesn't.
carries the it carries the
Yes,
past, birth,
yes,
everything,
yes.
and your karmas, everything it
Mm,
records and it carries with it.
yes, Prabhu.
Because that is how it makes you work in your next incarnation.
Yes. So that is the subtle body. Only the gross body we live in, but
Yes,
the
the gross
subtle
body
bodies,
is Panchatattva, it goes back into Panchatattva.
yeah. But other things carry on. So the flavors of the subtle body and all, right? Those
Yeah,
vasanas will go to
yeah.
the next life, and then whatever karma we did in, right? So it's all based on that we get the next life. But yes, I think those are just the words which the people use out of ignorance and all. But so soul doesn't die with the body, so it moves on, it
Soul
carries
doesn't die
on.
with that body. Yeah,
So that's something which we'll have to correct people. We'll have to preach, Prabhu. So all these things.
No rest for souls.
Yeah, it's
yes,
always
yes.
active. So that's what we say, right? So our soul, we should actually engage in the Lord, and then even the other thing is, if at all we reach, the soul reaches to the Goloka Vrindavan also, right? There also it will be active, and then it will be doing devotional service to the Lord.
Yes, that will be
So,
the.
so that's the thing, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
So we'll wind up today, Prabhuji. Sorry, it's a little bit late though, but yeah, uh, it was
Interesting.
good discussion. Okay. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnevyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.